Late word, John Camacho is arrested tonight along with one other suspect for the murders of a South Windsor family.
Live from WFSB Channel 3, you're watching Eyewitness News Nightbeat at 11.
Good evening, I'm Don Lark. First word tonight of the arrests a short time ago in New York City.
And I'm Denise. John Camacho is a relative of the family. He'd been living at their home until about a month before the murders. He's being charged with capital felony murder, which carries the death penalty. His alleged accomplice, Luis Garcia, is charged with evidence tampering. They allegedly shot to death Al Marquez Santa Marquez, their 6-year-old daughter, Crystal, and 14-year-old son, Jonathan, at the family's home in South Windsor, later dumping 3 of the bodies near the East River in Brooklyn. South Windsor police detectives assisting with the arrest tonight in New York City. Camacho and Garcia will be arraigned in New York tomorrow morning.
President Clinton tonight appealing for your support of a budget plan that includes, he says, no more something for nothing. Republicans tonight are quick to attack the compromise budget plan. If you watched, you saw Senator Bob Dole call it the largest tax increase in the history of the world. Both taking to primetime television tonight as the budget plan comes up for votes in the House and Senate this week. Mr. Clinton says it's his job to be sure the American people know exactly what's in the budget for them.
We've worked hard in this plan to ensure the lowest possible tax on the middle class. The plan asks an average working family to pay no more than $3 a month in new taxes, less than a dime a day, with a 4.3 cent a gallon increase in the gas tax. This is the only new tax working people will pay.
The plan is aimed at reducing the federal budget deficit by about $100 billion a year for the next 5 years, half of that with spending cuts, half with tax increases. It calls for increasing the gasoline tax by 4 cents a gallon to a total of 18.4 cents. The plan calls for a retroactive income tax increase on the wealthiest Americans. The top rate would be 36%. The top spending cuts would be for defense and Medicare. Senator Dole says it's a plan that'll hurt, not help.
The president says the tax increases will only punish upper-income Americans, as if that was something to celebrate. Well, he's wrong. Under his plan, millions of you who might think you were a member of the middle class would be paying more in taxes. 2 career families, more than 800,000 small businesses, over 5 million senior citizens, and millions of others will soon be sending more hard-earned dollars to Washington.
Take note of this number. Senator Dole is urging those opposed to the plan to call their lawmakers at area code 202-224-3121. The plan comes up for a House vote on Thursday, a Senate vote on Friday.
Well, how did the president's speech play in Connecticut? Channel 3's Dennis House found one couple willing to pay their fair share, but only if the higher taxes go towards the deficit.
She is a moderate liberal. He is a conservative. Together, Ann and Steve Tesler watched the president's speech very carefully, paying close attention to each and every tax increase announced.
Well, I think he's an excellent showman, and again, I think he did a good job with it. I like the little charts, the kind of the Ross Perot effect. I thought that was kind of nice.
I'm ambivalent. I believe he's a good salesman, and he presented himself very well. But I'm doubtful about the numbers that he presented, and I'm doubtful about some of the concepts that he presented.
But the Teslers are both willing to do their part and pay more taxes.
Now, Ann Tesler, you're a Democrat who voted for the president last November. Steve, you're a Republican, but you voted for Mr. Clinton as well. Yeah. And you're both in the banking business, so I want to ask you, do you think these tax hikes will actually help cut the deficit?
I wish I knew the response to that. I really don't know the response to that. I'm skeptical about the president's program.
I'm concerned about what kind of world I'm going to leave my son, who's 4 years old now. Where is he going to be in 30 or 40 years?
The Teslers say the increased taxes they are going to pay had better go to deficit reduction. If not, they'll hold their congressional delegation accountable, along with the president they helped elect. In West Hartford, Dennis House, Channel 3 Eyewitness News on the Night Beat.
A Connecticut hunter who accidentally shot and killed a jogger last year will not be going to prison. Robert Cook has been granted accelerated rehabilitation, a form of probation, in the death of 33-year-old Kevin Elliott of Plymouth. Elliott was jogging on a road near a reservoir in Morris when he was fatally wounded in the neck. The judge agreed with prosecutors and the defense that Cook showed remorse.
A Bristol man is arrested tonight on heroin charges, accused of using the drug in front of two small children. 41-year-old Michael Bouchard was arrested in a car parked at the Country Inn on Weston Street in Hartford after police found two small packets of heroin. Two women were also in the car. The children, aged 2 and 4, were in the back seat.
The so-called wild man of New York City may have figured out a way to come to Connecticut after all. He plans to buy his son's rental house. Hogue reportedly has $30,000 in the bank and receives disability benefits of $3,000 a month. But as Channel 3's Virginia Chow reports, neighbors are trying to block the purchase.
A situation like that happens, then what I'm going to do, I'm going to keep an eye on my kid, and I'm going to be a prisoner in my own house.
Alvarez is not alone in his fears. The news that Larry Hogue, the so-called wild man, is planning to buy this house where his son currently rents, as many of the neighbors worried, mostly about their children.
Maybe he does deserve a chance, but I'm worried about, next month or 6 months or a year down the line. This is the most precious thing in the world to me, my baby. And, it makes me wonder. I worry.
The owner of the house has already accepted Hogue's offer through a realtor who says Hogue seemed very coherent and knew what he was talking about.
What we found was that he is very qualified to buy a house. Matter of fact, he's one of the better qualified individuals that I've had come in to purchase a house in a while.
As you may recall, the psychiatric center in New York said it would release Hogue on the condition that he live with his son Sean in Bridgeport. Hogue, a 49-year-old Vietnam veteran, has a history of crack addiction and mental illness because of his experiences in Vietnam. That's why some say they hold the system, not him, responsible for his actions.
The man is a sick man, and he's a veteran. He's entitled to all the benefits he can get from the Veterans Administration. Now let them take him in there, check him out, treat him, give him all the treatment he needs, because he's entitled to all his benefits. And if they think that he's all right to go out, then you can release him.
There had been some question recently as to whether Hogue would be released at all, because Sean was soon to be evicted for failure to pay rent. But according to the realtor, the son's back rent is in the process of being paid off right now. Even so, Tuesday there is a hearing scheduled as to whether to recommit Larry Hogue. But if things go well for Larry, it means that by the end of this month, he'll not only own this house, he'll be living in it too. In Bridgeport, Virginia Chow, Channel 3 Eyewitness News on the Night Beat.
If you live in New Britain and your tap water is muddy, we're told it should be clear by sometime tomorrow. Water crews will be working through the night to repair a hole in a major water main that carries about 20 million gallons a day. A construction crew accidentally punctured the line and now will pay the price of pipe repairs and more than $20,000 in damage to private property. The city says it lost more than 15 million gallons of water.
Well, life tonight has just become a little bit easier and a lot more fun for children with disabilities and their families in Connecticut. Children like 9-year-old Tara Schaefer, who needs a wheelchair to get around. Newington Children's Hospital has just published a guidebook listing 150 of the state's tourist attractions with wheelchair facilities. Tara's family now no longer faces the pain of guessing where to go and hoping she'll be okay.
My parents have to carry me up the stairs, and I'm like, ouch, because it hurts my back sometimes.
So is this museum, has this been better?
Yeah, because it has the elevator and stuff.
The New England Carousel Museum in Bristol is just one of the fun places with full accessibility. The rest are listed in the Guide to Recreation for Children with Disabilities, which Newington is distributing to parents and advocacy groups free of charge. To get a copy, just call 667-KIDS-KIDS.
A great idea.
Oh, it's super.
Much more coming up tonight on the Night Beat. Violence in the workplace, it's all too common, and today's shootings at a Stamford office building leave police and co-workers wondering why it happened. Also, some signs of serious stress to look for in your co-workers.
And folks all over the country right here at home take to the streets to reclaim them from crime. Find out what it's all about. Coming up next on the Night Beat.
Autopsy scheduled tomorrow morning may provide more clues about an office shooting in Stamford that appears to be a murder-suicide. The bodies of 2 employees were found in an office at American Cyanamide's Chemical Research Center. Laboratory attendant, 49-year-old Cleophas Whitaker of Stamford, and a supervisor, 48-year-old William Luther of Norwalk, each died of a gunshot wound to the head. Police say Luther was not Whitaker's immediate supervisor.
What I can tell you is that both men worked in the same department, but there was no direct supervision. One was 2 or 3 steps above the other one as far as position in the company. What I'm saying, there's no indication that there was any type of friction or any kind of problem at work between the two.
American Cyanamid told its 500 employees not to talk to the press, but one man said he knew of no trouble between the two.
No idea of any relationship between the two guys or anything?
Rico.
What do you think about what happened?
I think it was real terrible.
Luther had worked for the company for nearly 30 years, Whitaker for 18 years. In a statement released today, American Cyanamid mourned their loss and extended sympathy to the families.
While it's not official yet that this was a case of murder-suicide, the shooting deaths of 2 employees on the job raises concerns among some health professionals about the threat of violence in the workplace. Paul Crotty is one of those professionals who's here tonight with a list of warning signs to watch for on the job. Mr. Crotty?
Well, the first thing to look for is that every threat should be taken seriously. Even an implied threat of harm to anyone could be a serious threat and one that should be attended to right away. The second thing to look for is to take notice if there is a disgruntled employee, perhaps someone who is brooding or someone who's perhaps quiet. It's also individuals that might be agitated. We'll also look for changes in behavior, someone who's going through some change of behavior over some period of time. And someone who might be in conflict with management is another warning sign to look for.
Apparently, in many cases, when people reflect on these warnings, it's often too late. Do you find that?
Yes, it can be. I think that people should come forward right away. I guess one of the next watchwords really is to tell someone, and to make sure that you tell someone right away, someone that you trust, someone in human resources or employee assistance, perhaps a trusted coworker or friend. After the fact, people look back and say, gee, I noticed something was different, and that's usually too late. So we really ask people to come forward quickly and to not let fear stop them from coming forward.
All right, good advice. We appreciate your help. Thanks for being with us tonight, Mr. Crowder.
You're welcome.
On the NightBEAT Newsline, a risky last-ditch effort fails to save the 18th century town of Prairie du Rocher, Illinois from the flood of '93. The Army Corps of Engineers deliberately broke a levee 3 miles upstream, flooding 58,000 acres of farmland to spare the quaint village, but it didn't work, and townspeople tonight were forced to flee.
A federal appeals court rules that John Demjanjuk must be allowed back in the U.S. while a court investigates the government's handling of his extradition to Israel. An Israeli court this week overturned his conviction and death sentence for insufficient proof that he was the Nazi death camp killer known as Ivan the Terrible. Congratulations all around at the White House as Ruth Bader Ginsburg wins easy confirmation. She'll become the second woman to serve on the U.S. Supreme Court when she's sworn in next Tuesday.
Is your porch light on tonight? Many are burning brightly all over America on this 10th annual National Night Out. The event calls attention to crime in the cities, suburbs, and rural areas. And in Hartford tonight, in the Tuscan Homes neighborhood, they mark the event with a food fest. Hartford Mayor Carrie Saxon Perry, members of City Council, and the police were invited.
Well, coming up later here on the Night Beat, Hilton lets us know how long we'll have to sweat it out before some cooler weather comes our way.
And you've heard of Christmas in July, but Thanksgiving in August? Well, we'll show you how one young fellow from the other side of the world got a taste of this truly American tradition. Stay with us. On the NightBEAT Business Watch, some bad news today for workers at Northeast Utilities. NU says intense competition and the recession in New England mean up to 700 jobs, or 7% of its workforce, will have to go by the end of next year. The utility hopes to cut a large number of those jobs through early retirement. The first layoffs, though, could come in November. On Wall Street today, the Dow was up ever so slightly at the sound of the closing bell, closing at 35.61 and change. Volume more than 254 million shares.
Well, you've heard of Christmas in July. How about Thanksgiving in August? That's what a Polish visitor to New Britain was treated to tonight. 18-year-old Adam Grabowitz is in the United States for the summer. He's never enjoyed a real Thanksgiving, so his host family cooked a turkey with all the trimmings and told Adam what Thanksgiving is all about, what it means to them.
Having a lot of food and then watching ball games.
Well, Adam went on to say he'll have to come back in the fall sometime and watch a football game. A couple of years from now, who knows, he can watch the Patriots in Hartford.
Wouldn't that be great?
Yeah.
I wonder if he walked off the meal, too.
Well, I don't know, but, you know, it kind of makes you think that any night's a good time to count your blessings.
Yes, that's true. How are we doing in terms of blessings in the weather department?
Well, we've been blessed with a surprise shower tonight, but it's out of the area now, so I think the rest of the evening is going to be fairly quiet. Ray Penault, his children Emily and Brad, taking a look at a quiet mill pond in southern New England this evening, in Stanley Park in New Britain, to be precise. Looks like a mill pond, doesn't it? Hardly a breeze this evening, just before sunset. Right now at Channel 3, 77 in Hartford, 76 in New Haven. The dew point has really jumped up there, near 70 degrees. Feels muggy outside, 77% humidity in Hartford, relative humidity in New Haven, 82%, and there's a little bit of fog along the shoreline. Let's check temperatures around the area, and I'll show you where that little surprise shower cropped up earlier this evening. It's gone now. Little shower right over the northwest corner of Connecticut, moved through the Springfield area. Temperatures in the 70s throughout most of the area this evening, and it feels muggy as we showed you the dew points. Muggy almost everywhere except New York City area, where drier air is now beginning to push in. So I don't think we'll have the muggy weather all night. A little bit of fog showing up along parts of Connecticut shoreline where temperatures are in the 70s. Fog showing up both in New Haven and New London right now, but it's not the real dense pea soup kind. Let's check radar around the nation. You notice that we don't have any radar echoes over New England, but a line of showers out over the Great Lakes states. They may sweep through tomorrow evening to give us a chance for a shower, and a few scattered showers in the nation's midsection. But the big weather feature in the upper wind flow that has kept this part of the country absolutely saturated this year has finally shifted. The jet stream throughout July was in this position, and this is a storm in the upper atmosphere, and that's why the nation's midsection got one rain after another. But watch what's happened to the jet stream now. It has shifted. That trough has shifted eastward. Instead of a swirling mass of air over the Dakotas, we have northerly or northwesterly winds over the upper Midwest, and so that's why things are beginning to dry out. You'll get little areas of disturbed weather moving through that kind of a jet stream, but that is not a blocked pattern that gives you one day's rain after another. There you see on the satellite photo those upper level winds now blowing out of the northwest, just carrying minor little disturbances by, but no day after day rain. So it looks like, as long as that pattern holds that we have tonight, it looks like they'll have a chance to dry up. Little weather front moves through later this evening, and then the cold front that has the thunder showers ahead of it tonight moves toward us tomorrow. Watch what happens tomorrow evening. We get brushed by some showers as cooler air moves into southern New England. So get ready for some refreshing weather after another hot day tomorrow. Here's your forecast in detail. For tonight, we're calling for mostly clear skies. The skies should become mostly clear. A few clouds around now, but that front's going to make it through. 60 to 66 inland, 64 to 71 on the shoreline. Going to have to dry out to get down there, but I think we'll do it. Then for tomorrow, especially in the afternoon, chance of a thunderstorm, 86 to 90 inland and on the shore. Warm and muggy, 84 to 88. The thunderstorm should be ending tomorrow night, clearing skies, 55 to 65. So what do we plan on? Well, some thunderstorms on Wednesday, a couple of fair days. Saturday it may rain again, and Sunday bright sunshine. But look at the temperatures. We go from near 90 tomorrow to, well, the 70s by the beginning of the weekend.
Comfortable.
Yeah, Don, Denise, that sounds like comfort.
Well, if we see the sun on Sunday, we'll count our blessings.
Great.
All right.
Thanks, Hilton.
Dave Smith has NightBEAT Sports coming up next. The Mets' Vince Coleman will face charges stemming from his firecracker incident.
And the Yanks and the Blue Jays at it again in the Big Apple. Sports coming up. Stay with us.
Tonight's Channel 3 Sports is brought to you by KFC. KFC, we do chicken right.
Well, 50,000 baseball fans tonight made it out to the Bronx hoping to see something going on, huh?
Well, they saw something going on. They just didn't like what they saw going on is what happened. The Yanks needed a win tonight to keep things cozy with the first-place Blue Jays. You fall too far back, you might not return. Well, this Toronto team is awfully good. The Yankees jumped out 3 runs in the second when Paul O'Neill singled later on. Mattingly scored, and it was 4-2. Mattingly was on base all night, so was Boggs. He had 4 hits. But just too much hitting by Toronto. Alomar here with a base hit, 4-4. Bad pitching by the Yanks. See, they walked a ton of people. There was a base hit by Devon White, made it 5-4. Paul Molitor would make it 7-4. The final was 8-6. Yankees put a little rally together in the bottom of the ninth, but not enough. Toronto wins again. Ricky Henderson played well, made contributions. Too much Toronto. They win for the second night in a row. The Red Sox were tied with New York going into Minnesota tonight. Twins playing better ball of late. The Red Sox are still tied with New York because, well, they just had problems throwing people out. Infield in, ground ball to Fletcher. And, yeah, through those scores, the ball player was safe at the plate. Here you got Kirby Puckett. Breaks the game open in the 7th inning. 3-run home run. This made it 6-1. That was your final score. Minnesota wins tonight, beating the Red Sox. Red Sox got to get back to Fenway, and they'll be fine. Out west, Chicago very quietly has been cruising along in first place. They're in Texas tonight. How'd they do? Well, you saw old Charlie Liebrandt there. He probably didn't look too happy. He gave up 2 in the first. Chicago got 7 in the second inning. Frank Thomas here with a home run. Robin Ventura, hit the top of the fence, was ruled a home run. Ventura, who doubled earlier, will double right here. This made it 7-0. The final was 11-6 as Chicago rolling right along in first place. And old Bo Jackson scoring as well. Here are those scores. Milwaukee bows to Baltimore. Baltimore got to win tonight. The only one that won in the East besides Toronto. Detroit blown away by Cleveland 9-4. The Mets were beaten in Montreal tonight. The score was 3-1. Earlier today, Vince Coleman was charged with unlawful possession of an explosive device after tossing a firecracker at people outside Dodger Stadium about 10 days ago. 3 people were injured. He'll report to authorities out there next week. On the scoreboard, Philadelphia beats Atlanta. Charlie Huff of Florida wins a 6th game, shutting out St. Louis, a 6-hitter, 1-0. 32,000 in St. Louis tonight. At Central in New Britain this evening, a Norwegian wrestling team, yes, on tour in the United States, and some of them wrestled well, some, I guess, not so well. Bob Serrano here of Team USA Connecticut beats Christian Halm. That is Bob in the red wrestling suit. Hans-Peter Hagen would win the next. This is still the first match. Serrano winning his match. This is Greco-Roman wrestling. We see it in the Olympics, but that's about it. Not too much over here. You can only touch the top part of your opponent's body. And there's the win by Serrano. Hans-Peter Hagen would beat Sean Curtis, so the Norwegians won some as well. This is the first Norwegian team to ever come over here to tour the United States and wrestle. The Connecticut USA team is made up of a volunteer group of wrestlers who were rounded up for this match tonight. And this from Boston, Ala Abdelnaby, one of the Celtics, paid $300 in court today on a little marijuana problem he ran into today. So they had the rough Reggie Lewis day the other day, and now this. So it's going to end soon for the Celtics. Things got to get better.
Yeah, $300, he can afford it, right?
He can afford it, yeah. All those basketball players. Yeah, but you don't want to get caught the second time.
They're role models, after all.
Well, they're supposed to be.
All right. Thanks, Dave. Thanks for joining us once again.
Good night.